It's 17:30 GMT. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. I am Umaru Sanda Amado. Tonight I'm here with... And coming up over the next 90 minutes, Office of Special Prosecutor described former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta's health records, which have become public now, as an afterthought. We have the latest on the back and forth between the two parties. Also, coming up, Vice President of Imani Africa, Bright Simmons, pens down a 38-paragraph court process demanding admissions of facts from CEO of Engineers and Planners Ibrahim Mahama over ongoing defamation case between the two. And later on Eyewitness News, confusion over missing containers at Energy Committee meeting. We'll be telling you more on what has been transpiring. Still 97.3 Citi FM. These and many other stories here on Eyewitness News. And in business,
Fitch forecast 2.5% growth for Ghana's household spending.
That's in 50 minutes from the Citi Business Desk. Eyewitness News is live across Ghana on a number of affiliate stations and across the globe on citinewsroom.com. We are also on citifmonline.com. That's our website. We are live on YouTube and we are live on Facebook. You can go there, look for Citi FM, and you get to hear what is transpiring here in the studio. You can also join the discussion by sending your messages to our WhatsApp number 0549 986 996 0549 986 996, or go on X, formerly known as Twitter, and tweet at me by mentioning my handle or at Citi973. My handle is at Umaru Sanda. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We start off with the Office of Special Prosecutor and former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Eno has that story for us.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor has dismissed the medical
Apologies, we are having a technical challenge there. Let's try and hear what exactly has been happening in relation to the Office of Special Prosecutor and Ken Ofori-Atta, the former Minister of Finance. Now, the Office of Special Prosecutor has dismissed the medical report released by lawyers for former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, describing it as an afterthought. This comes after the submission of a letter from the Mayo Clinic, where Mr. Ofori-Atta is reportedly receiving treatment detailing his health condition amid ongoing investigations. The report, which was also shared with sections of the media, revealed that the former minister has been diagnosed with prostate cancer and is scheduled to undergo surgery on June 13, 2025. However, the OSP has questioned the timing and authenticity of the disclosure, criticizing the decision to publicize the document through the media rather than submitting same to the office. Here are excerpts of the statement read by my colleague Charles Osukumi.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor has become aware of a publication on online media purporting to be a letter from a hospital containing alleged medical report on Mr. Kenneth Ofori-Atta. We wish to place on record that neither Mr. Ofori-Atta nor his lawyers have submitted any such letter to the OSP. The only correspondence received from his legal representatives is a letter notifying the OSP of a change in his medical condition and on their say-so. It is notable that this alleged hospital letter has been circulated through the media rather than submitted to the law enforcement agency actively investigating him and responsible for decisions regarding his return to Ghana. To date, no certified medical records or official documents from any hospital authority has been submitted to the OSP indicating that Mr. Ofori-Atta is incapacitated or unable to travel to Ghana.
So that's Charles Usukumi's summary of the statement issued by Ken Ofori-Atta, not Ken Ofori-Atta, by the Office of Special Prosecutor, which is responding to Ken Ofori-Atta, former Minister of Finance. But a lot more has been happening since the SP himself, the Special Prosecutor Kise Jabin, called a press conference yesterday to announce that he had relisted Ken Ofori-Atta on the wanted list, and also saying that he had issued an Interpol red notice for him. Today, the minority leader in Parliament, the majority leader in Parliament, an MP for Boku Central, Mahama Ayariga, questioned the minority leader, an MP for Futu Alexander Penyo Markin, over the continued absence of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, who has failed to present himself to the office of the Special Prosecutor. Recall that Mr. Apenyo-Markin assured Parliament that the former minister would return to Ghana by May 2025. However, as of June this month, of course, his return has not been confirmed, prompting Mr. Ayariga to accuse the minority leader of reneging on his assurances. Speaking on the floor of Parliament, Mahama Ayariga also criticized the Minority Caucus for exiting the Economic and Organized Crimes Office shortly after their visit during the recent detention of MPP Ashanti Regional Chairman Bernard Entry Bosiakon, popularly known as Wontumi. Let's listen to what transpired.
If I may say, he promised this house that he will bring Ken Ofori-Atta in May. Where is Ken Ofori-Atta? Where is Ken Ofori-Atta? Where is Ken? Where is Ken? Where is Ken? You promised us that you will bring Ken to this house. He came to this house and made a promise. You promised this house that you will produce Ken. You will produce Ken Ofori-Atta in May. We are in June. This is the 3rd of June. Where is Ken Ofori-Atta? Mr. Speaker, he should no longer be heard in this house. Because when he makes promises, he doesn't fulfill them. He comes here and makes promises and never fulfills them. When we make promises, let's keep them. Mr. Speaker, when he promised to sleep at Yoko, by 10 p.m. he left Yoko. He abandoned.
So that's Mahama Ayariga. He's the majority leader and member of parliament for Boku Central, speaking in Parliament. I know you have other stories, don't you?
Yes, I do. So the state has filed witness statements in the ongoing prosecution of the former Director General of the National Signals Bureau, Kwabena Edu-Boateng, his wife, Angela J. Boateng, their associate, Mildred Boateng, and a company jointly owned by Edu-Boateng and his wife, Advantage Solutions Limited. The four are standing trial on charges of stealing, causing financial loss to the state, and conspiracy. Citi News has cited 3 of the witness statements, which were submitted by the case investigator Frank Marshall Cromwell, the Director of Finance at the National Signals Bureau, Edith Ruby Edumwa, and Frank Ananidekpe, an errand boy for the accused persons. According to the investigator's statement, the accused collectively diverted state funds amounting to 49 million Ghana cedis under the pretext of procuring a cybersecurity defense system. In a statement, the Director of Finance, Edith Ruby Edumwa, alleged that her former boss, Kwabena Edu-Boateng, was involved in a series of suspicious transactions corresponding to the amount allegedly misappropriated.
Now let's remain in the courts. You do know that there's a pending defamation case between Ibrahim Mahama, the CEO of Engineers and Planners, and Bright Simmons, the vice president, one of the vice presidents of Imani Africa. And there's a further process that is emerging on this particular issue. Our legal affairs correspondent is Hansen Ajiman. He's in the studio with me. Hansen, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you, Sanda.
So what is this latest document that we have?
So this is a motion that has been filed by lawyers of Bright Simmons, who is a defendant in this matter, directed at the first accused person, that is Mr. Ibrahim Mahama, the second accused person in this matter, that's Engineers and Planners Company.
The second plaintiff.
Yeah, the second plaintiff. So the first plaintiff Ibrahim Mahama, and the second plaintiff Engineers and Planners Company Limited. In this motion, Bryce Simmons is simply asking the 2 plaintiffs in the matter to admit certain facts even before they go ahead on the case. So it's a form of discovery within the process to say that we can all agree that these facts are not debatable, that these are plain facts available to all of us. So he lists out about 38 of these issues that he believes are facts that all parties can agree to. And it varies from the identification of the plaintiffs, their relationship with the president, their relationship with officials within the Minerals Commission, as well as financial issues with companies of the first plaintiff, and whether or not the issues about challenges that the company that is the second plaintiff in this matter is facing. So he's asking the 2, and the first one specifically goes to Ibrahim Mahama, to admit that he's a sole shareholder of the second plaintiff, which is Engineers and Planners. He's also asking him to admit that he is the brother of the President of the Republic of Ghana, which is John Dramani Mahama, and that by virtue of the Ibrahim Maham's association with the President John Mahama, that he is a politically exposed person. He goes ahead to say that Ibrahim Mahama should admit that in his dealings with a company in 2013 known as Apply by Law Firm, during the registration of Red Sky Aviations for other services in the first plaintiff was classified as a high-risk politically exposed person for the purposes of the transactions. And so he's saying that Ibrahim Mahama is a public and political figure. He wants him to admit this as well. He's saying that the second plaintiff should admit that it is the main contractor for the Abosso Goldfields Limited's Diamond Gold Mine. And he's saying that this is in relation to an agreement that the second plaintiff and Abosso Goldfields Limited Diamond Goldfields went into for the payment of the second plaintiff, which is Engineers and Planners, based on services rendered including loading and hauling, dewatering, access road maintenance, and all blasting services. And he's saying that from at least 2015 to 2019, the second plaintiff, which is the Engineers and Planners, entered into a contract with Abosso Goldfields Limited worth $117 million, and that between 2015 and 2018, that this was the second plaintiff's largest mining services contract in Ghana. He goes ahead to ask them to admit that in December 2019, the second plaintiff entered into an agreement with Abosso Goldfields worth an estimated $300 million. He pushes further that between 2020 and 2023, plaintiff's December 2019 agreement with Abosso Goldfields Limited was its second largest commercial mining contract in Ghana, and same was the second largest commercial mining contract anywhere in the world. He goes further to ask them to admit that between 2015 and 2025, the second plaintiff made and was projected to make at least 25% of its total income in the mining category over the period from the diamond projects alone, pursuant to consecutive agreements with Abosso Goldfield Limited. He says they should also admit that revenue from the second plaintiff's operation at the Abosso Goldfields Limited Diamond Gold Mine is a significant share of total revenue for the second plaintiff. He wants them to also, the second plaintiff particularly, to also admit that it has at least one former employee who is currently working at the high levels at the Minerals Commission.
Okay, so Hansen, essentially, these are processes that he has filed in the court by Simmons, because he's ready to defend himself in court over the defamation suit that has been brought against him. So he's asking for some further information from the persons who have sued him, namely Ibrahim Mahama and his company.
So he's saying that these are information available to him, but these are information he thinks are true and that all parties can agree to, that they are facts. And so even before they go further with the litigation, all parties should admit to these facts as being facts before they proceed.
Thank you so much. So that's Hansen Ajima, our legal affairs correspondent. And just by way of quick background, so Ibrahim Mahama sued Bright Simmons for defamation, demanding 10 million cedis in damages. And this was on 29th May. We have a story on our website, citinewsroom.com. You can go see the details, but a summary of it. Ibrahim Mahama, the businessman, filed the defamation lawsuit against Bright Simmons, who is vice president of Imani Africa, over what he describes as a series of quote-unquote false and malicious publications that have damaged both his personal reputation and that of his company, Engineers and Planners. Now, according to the documents that we saw from the court at the time, which is at the High Court in Accra, Mr. Mahama and EMP alleged that Simmons made defamatory claims in an article titled "Ghana Provides a Lesson in How Not to Nationalize a Gold Mine," which was published on April 19, 2025, on his personal website, which is brysimmons.com. On the same day, Bryce Simmons shared the article via his official X, formerly Twitter, handle, which is BB Simmons, where it quickly gained traction. By May 8, the post had amassed more than 93,000 views, 250 reactions, 98 reposts, 26 comments, and 109 bookmarks. The plaintiffs argue that this engagement contributed significantly to wide dissemination of the alleged defamatory comments. The article reportedly accused EMP of financial distress due to halted operations at the Daman gold mine and suggested that the company's creditors were, quote-unquote, up in arms. He also insinuated that Mahama, the brother of President John Mahama, was benefiting improperly from political connections and that EMP was being unduly favored in government mining policies. In their suit, the plaintiffs reject these claims outright, describing them as entirely false and wholly without factual basis. So if you look at the part where it talked about up in arms, it has got a mention in the particular application for admissions by Bright Simmons. So if you look at the last paragraph, which is paragraph 30 of this particular application, he says the plaintiff should admit that the phrase quote-unquote up in arms is an English expression which means quote-unquote to protest strongly. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi. If we take a break here, we'll be back with more. Please stay with us.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Polytank is everywhere, durable and authentic. Stronger brand you can trust. Polytank, we get sumo, Rambo, and get sumo super. And the Polytank, we did. Polytank, Papa no no, 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 Ankasa. Polytank, the original, always the best.
Charlie, where are you?
Boss man, I'm at the bank.
Really? But your car is in front of your house.
Bro, my bank on my phone, Charlie.
Oh, how?
EcoBank, bro. With EcoBank mobile app, I can do everything, anywhere, anytime. Listen, I just checked my account balance, paid Ahmed's school fees, and sent money to my grandma at Walwale.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Massa, just download the EcoBank mobile app from the Google Play Store or the App Store, or dial *770# and be your own bank manager.
Manager.
Whether to pay bills or fees, to check account statements, send money across Ghana, abroad, and more, EcoBank mobile app has got it covered. EcoBank Mobile, making everyday people live everyday lives the EcoBank way. EcoBank, the Pan-African bank.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You're welcome back. Let's do some more stories. A sitting of the Energy Committee of Parliament on the ECG missing containers nearly resulted in tensions between Energy Minister John Jinapor and Deputy Ranking Member of the committee, Collins Adumakun. The meeting was aimed at getting a briefing from the Energy Minister on the ECG missing container following reports that the ministry has taken possession of over 1,000 of these containers. Let's hear Energy Minister John Jinapor and Deputy Ranking Member of the committee, Collins Adumakun.
The point now is that let's wait and reconcile the figures to see what it means. And let's be very frank. There was a rush into the media to create a certain impression that something was done, something wrong had happened. That was it. Now we are being told that 2,600 something have been found at the same port. Let's.
Well, Chairman, first of all, I think that we have to be consistent. He said, the minister's tone is not different. And that what they heard on TV or radio is that containers are miraculously missing. That's a very mischievous way of presenting the narrative. No. Let's face it. Then it makes it look like the minister went and said miraculously missing. No, you said that. Look, that's what that's the implication. No. Chairman, I'm minister and I'm a member of parliament. Please, when you were speaking, I kept quiet and listening. No, please. But why don't you marry the two? that you said that the minister is now sober. So what we heard on radio, no, that means I wasn't sober. Let me make it clear that I've always been sober. I've remained consistent. And I said that it's a committee report that was sent to me that 1,300 of the containers, when they couldn't find them, you can say they are missing. But if something is missing, you look for it. What is wrong with looking for missing containers? What is the problem? Let's even assume it's missing. Let's take it that they were missing or whatever. But if they can't find them, they are missing. If they were not missing, they would have found them. If it's missing, so but you are saying you held a press conference and said they were not missing. You were categorical, and then that is the so let it be so. Then what is the issue? Then where is the argument? There's no argument. Which means they were not missing. They were not missing. So what is it? No, let's even assume they were not missing. What is the issue? But then the narration is totally different now. It's different now. Let me see the argument. The committee brought a report. They told me that they couldn't find 1,300. The objective is to find every single container. For me, that is the most important thing, and not to engage in semantics. Semantics is not what will resolve the problem. What will resolve the problem is to account for every single container. Then two, Mr. Chairman, why did we get here? Who slept on the job and allowed that breach, such abuse, such misuse of state resources, that under your supervision, you are supposed to spend 900 and you go spending 8.3 billion. Not 1 year, but 2 years. We won't be here. That should be the focus. But under whose supervision did we see this rot? That you do everything through source sourcing without recourse to public procurement authority? Ladies and gentlemen, this cannot be allowed to stand.
You heard Energy Minister John Jinapo and Deputy Ranking Member of the committee, Collins Adomako. Finance Minister Dr. Kaisel Atuforsen has announced that every district assembly across the country will receive a minimum of 25 million cedis in 2025 to drive local economic development and deepen decentralization. Addressing Parliament today, Dr. Atuforsen said the allocation is part of a broader strategy to empower local governance and ensure national resources reach the grassroots. The Finance Minister says the 25 million will be used to construct markets, chips compounds and other facilities.
It is well established that metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies have gone through severe financial strain over the past 8 years due to the unfortunate re-centralization of district assemblies' common fund. Mr. Speaker, it is evident that decisions taken in recent years have regrettably undermined the capacity of MMDAs to respond effectively to the pressing needs of our people at the local level. Right Honorable Speaker, in the past 8 years, a paltry 40% to 50% of transfers to the common fund were disbursed directly to the district assemblies, thereby denying MMDAs the ability to spur local economic development. Mr. Speaker, the government under President John Mahama is resolute in its determination to reverse this trend. We are committed to adequately resource MMDAs and ensure that effective and accountable utilization of these resources are maintained at all times. In line with our promise to revitalize the local economy, President Mahama's administration has prioritized improving financial strength of the district assemblies. I wish to commend members of this House for endorsing, as part of the 2025 budget, government proposal to ensure that a minimum of 80% of allocated district assembly common fund resources are transferred directly to MMDAs. Mr. Speaker, without a doubt, this measure will empower assemblies to drive economic growth at the local level and deepen the process of decentralization. Right Honorable Speaker, through this policy initiative, government is guaranteeing that approximately 6.1 billion Ghana cedis of the 7.57 billion Ghana cedis earmarked for the year 2025 will be disbursed directly to local assemblies to spur local economic activities at the district level. Mr. Speaker, in view of that, every district assembly will receive a minimum of 25 million Ghana cedis this year. A minimum of 25 million Ghana cedis this year. Mr. Speaker, our resource extends beyond mere release of funds. We have taken decisive steps to ensure that these resources are utilized in line with government economic objectives. Mr. Speaker, as I say, a minimum of 25 million Ghana cedis will go to every district assembly, a minimum. Mr. Speaker, Section 126(3) of the Local Government Act 2016, Act 936, mandates government to determine the categories of expenditure within the approved development budget of district assemblies that must be funded through the District Assembly Common Fund. In compliance with this, the Cabinet of President Mahama has approved guidelines to ensure the prudent and accountable utilization of these funds. The guidelines as approved by Cabinet are as follows. The Speaker, 25% of the amount transferred to the district assemblies is to be utilized for the design and construction of a model market in each district assembly. The Speaker, 10% of the amount is earmarked for the construction of health facilities where a minimum of 2 chips compound are supposed to be constructed at rural assemblies. The Speaker, again, 10% of the amount is earmarked for the construction of educational facilities, including 1 KG block, 1 primary school block, and 1 junior high school block. Right, Honorable Speaker, another 10% of the amount is earmarked for the provision of potable water in each assembly, of which a minimum of 10 boreholes are supposed to be constructed in rural assemblies. Mr. Speaker, again, we have earmarked 10% of the amount that will be sent directly to the assemblies for the provision of school furniture.
So that's Finance Minister Dr. Keselatu Forsin talking about what they plan to do with decentralization. Let's speak to someone who was in charge of decentralization in the Eswal Akufo-Addo administration. Martina J. Mensah Konsa is NPP Member of Parliament for Techiman South. He was local government minister. You're welcome to Eyewitness News, sir.
Thank you, my brother, for having me.
It sounds to me like very, very proper decentralization with money to back it, what the finance minister has said. What's your view?
Well, good evening to your listeners. It comes across as an effort that could, strengthen our resolve to decentralize our governance process. I mean, decentralization in its simplest terms means giving power and resources to local bodies. And if you say that you want to allocate 80% of your available funds for the fund to the local assemblies, provided that is met, then obviously it's a good measure. The NPP in our time saw around 60% of various releases, but clearly they have sought to up the numbers. It must be a good relief, but I dare say that is not enough. You need to ensure that you have put in place some very, very cogent structures to make sure that, first of all, these monies will go to do exactly as is intended. Quite often, the challenge we have is that where you seek to channel resources for development, if you are not careful, that is where there is a misapplication of the funds, and would it be that used to do the intended purpose? I mean, he gives some figures in terms of the distribution plan. 2% goes here, 20% goes here, and so on. But what is the mechanism to ensure that there is some monitoring or regulation to ensure that this really happens. If you don't do that, I'm afraid you're going to have a challenge. I mean, in very practical terms, this is quite one of the worrying features in our assembly system where people choose not to apply funds, the prioritized needs, the budgeted items, which these ones are meant to be. And then, of course, you need to also ensure that there is not a clash between central government, what they do, and what the assemblies are going to do. Because I see there is some effort to want to provide everything from classroom blocks to water to everything, school furniture and so on. The central government also, through its own programs, have some activities to do. So we need to marry the two so that we don't duplicate efforts. If you are not careful, Ministry of Education, through Get Fund, is allocating projects. And then the same things are being budgeted also under DACF being sent there. How do we regulate and ensure that there is no duplication of these efforts? That any effort in a governance process to strengthen the financial base of our authorities is certainly a welcome relief. And you, my brother, also saying that I'm going to allocate 80% of funds meant for DACF to local assemblies is one thing, and actually making do. The challenge has always been making sure that the money actually goes. I mean, they only get these monies when the allocation is consistently done to DACF for them to have the money and go to do what it has to be done. So it's early days yet. I applaud every effort to want to strengthen the local authority. It's certainly a good one. And decentralization doesn't end. There's still more room for improvement. But like I'm saying, we need to have these safeguards, these monetary and regulatory mechanisms, and make sure that we actually get value for money. And then also, we should be careful not duplicate national efforts, because certainly other national projects are going to run along these interventions we want to do.
It's interesting that you give the warning about duplicity of efforts. For someone who was Minister for Local Government at the time, the government had 3 development agencies: the Middle Belt Development Authority, the Northern Development Authority, and the Southern Development or Coastal Development Authority. Clearly, that looked like duplicity to many people who were watching the local government space at the time, because at one point, the CODA, which is the Coastal Development Authority, may be building a toilet in, say, Ajin Kotoku here on the coastal side, and then the ministry or the local government authority in that area may also be doing the same thing. Perhaps an advice from you would be very helpful on how you dealt with duplicity when you were at local government ministry and also having to deal with development authorities which were also at the local level to guide the current minister and the current administration.
So I think that you make my effort. You virtually underscore the fears that I have, that given what you have just counted, you are likely to duplicate some efforts. And so there has to be a very fine line between the prioritized needs. In the ministry at the time, we had what we called a central command system where all prioritized needs of every assembly is escalated to the top. And so for every quarter, every half year or full year, the various development programs that they intend to do, there is a common platform where central government interacts with local government, and then we have a sense of exactly what the assemblies intend to do, and that fits into our program. There has to be a deepening of that arrangement to be sure that at least there is proper monitoring, and also we are in sync in terms of determining their prioritized needs and where money goes. If indeed money is being sent from DACF in very enough terms to go and tackle things in education, clearly, let's not lose sight of electricity, roads, and other things. We have taken delivery of drip equipment If you look at the locations that was done, I did not see any for drip. Now, this drip is meant to be a very critical component in maintaining our roads at the local level, so that the burden of central government having to virtually attend to all roads in Ghana, which when not done, raising some tensions and disaffection and so on, is met with. Those area of equipment, my brother, to maintain them comes with a huge cost. I don't see it being factored in these whole arrangements that are being done. So we need to have a clear tease out of what the issues are, what the priorities are, and then each gets some attention. Where we have some allocation, then clearly we can avoid duplicating further to that area, and then looking at something else. But again, DRIP, for example, a very, very laudable initiative which this government has taken on and wants to do it, they will have to have enough allocation for that. If there is some other measure to do so, I don't know, but I did not quite see that being kept up, plus some other areas that we have to focus on.
So DRIP, again, is an area that we could even say duplicity if care is not taken, but it's something that you have rolled out as a government and you have been continuing with it. It's something that should be done either by the Urban Roads Department or Highways Authority or even the local assembly itself, but you introduced DRIP nonetheless, which has been continued by this government.
So necessarily, DRIP is not a duplication. I'll tell you why. So you have the ministry in charge of roads having to oversee the entire country in terms of managing our roads. But their program, they have those that they intend to and you have those that need just some maintenance by way of reshaping and so on. Year on year, government through the ministry spends huge sums of money contracting private firms to go and maintain these roads. And the reports that comes out of it would amaze you. The sheer amount of money that goes into the periodic maintenance of these roads across the country, whether or not they are done or even not done well. Now, if you put the figures together in how much government spends and in government owning these equipments to do, it's a huge cut on the cost. But the ministry through the works department of the assemblies is clearly mandated to take on that activity. Now, with that coming on stream, the ministry at the top highways, so roads and highways, clearly suspends or stops where they award contracts and pays huge sums of money for maintenance of feeder roads and so on, community roads. Now, that is not happening. It was not happening anymore under us. I expect that to happen now. So that central government now focuses on its big projects, where they come in and do the big push, as this government want to call it. But on a periodic basis, just to make sure that even if central government has not come to your aid, then the assembly itself, through their works department, has the capacity to be able to manage this and make the roads more travel. That is not a duplication. They are not going to tar roads under the DRIP. They're just going to maintain them with the relevant or needed equipment. But the big push or the big projects comes from the ministry. So there are two different things.
Okay.
And I think that if we strengthen that DRIP, it should be able to help.
So looking at what the finance minister has talked about, markets would be targeted, chips, compounds, and so markets, I'm not sure which ministry to place it under, maybe local government.
About the market for 24-hour economy, your guess may be as good as mine. I'm waiting to see realistically how that works. I don't know whether that is how we intend to achieve this program of a 24-hour
But why jumping the gun? The minister didn't connect it to 24-hour economy. He just said they will construct markets, cheap compounds, and other facilities. So
markets for 24-hour economy. Check it.
Okay, fine.
That's what I read, yes.
Very well.
And so I've been cracking my mind to understand how the mere creation of those markets is to drive that policy.
Okay. So we'll deal with 24-hour on a different level. I'm interested more on how to prevent the duplication, and forgive me, I was using duplicity earlier, which is a wrong word to use. So chips compounds is health ministry, markets, maybe local government ministry. I don't know what they mean by other facilities. Do you think we should create a new nomenclature that maybe something along the lines of the development authorities to manage this thing, or we should leave it with the assemblies to run, knowing that the assemblies are the development points that all the national offices would come to before they execute any project in the district. I'm asking, how can we prevent this duplication of efforts?
I will go for your latter position of making sure that these national state agencies or national ministries, so on, through a decentralization program. You see, if you want to strengthen and deepen our decentralization, you must allow it to work. We have national actors. We want to decentralize them. That is why I gave the simplest definition for decentralization, to transfer power and resources. Let us see it happen at a very low level, local level. Education ministry sitting in Accra should, through the region and through the district, be able to run projects. Bringing in these nomenclatures, as you mentioned, to put it, various authorities, we tried it in the past. We've seen the dividends. I want to know, I'll move to something else. And that for is strengthening the regular national institutions to be able to roll out deeply through. And once that is done, then there is that harmony of programs. Mind you, my brother, if you come to the local authority, some of these decentralized offices, we get the results better when they coordinate their efforts and are able to do what we have to do. So I think that if you want to avoid the duplication and you also want to decentralize properly, let's rely on the national structures and see them roll out so that they can effectively implement government programs. Because even in Accra, if a Ministry for Trade, Ministry of Agric, wants to implement any policy and achieve results, the platform to do that is the local authority, is assembly. Because that is where all government programs end at. And that is where we must see that they're actually performing and taking account for what they have done. And that is, for me, is what will strengthen the assembly system, not creating other agencies or bodies around it to make sure to do the same thing.
Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, my brother.
That's Honorable Martin J. Mensah Kosa. He is former Minister for Local Government and Member of Parliament for Techiman South. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Eno, what else do we have?
The Finance Minister, Dr. Kaysel Ato-Forson, has laid before Parliament the Energy Sector Levy Amendment Bill 2025 to increase levy on petroleum products by 1 Ghana cedi to raise additional revenue to reduce the energy sector debts and enhance power supply. The minister states that a minimum of $3.7 billion is needed to clear the energy sector debt, which currently stands at 3.1 billion Ghana cedis. He added that government requires an additional $1.2 billion to procure essential fuel for thermal power generation to augment power supply for the year 2025. In a brief statement on the floor of Parliament, Dr. Kaysel Ato-Forson said the impact will be absorbed by the gains made by the local currency.
Energy sector legacy debt and to stabilize power supply. Mr. Speaker, the power sector is the biggest economic and fiscal risk we face presently. It could lead to a major crisis if we fail to confront it head on. The challenges in the energy sector are quite enormous, emanating from debt, shortfalls, insufficient gas, and inefficiencies. The total energy sector debt as at end March 2025 stands at $3.1 billion. This amount includes amount owed to independent power producers, state-owned enterprises, fuel suppliers, and fuel suppliers. Right, Honorable Speaker, as a result of non-payment of bills owed to ENI and Car Power, the World Bank IDA guarantee of $512 million and GMPC guarantee of $120 million were completely drawn down in the year 2024. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the government is required to find an additional $632 million to restore these guarantees. Mr. Speaker, a minimum of $3.7 billion is needed to clean up the overall energy sector indebtedness for us to have a clean slate. Right, Honorable Speaker, Ghana's electricity sector has experienced a significant shift over the years, with the country now heavily reliant on thermal power generation to supplement the hydroelectronic sources. The cost of liquid fuel to power the thermal power plant is not included in the current electricity tariff build-up, resulting in a significant revenue shortfall for the procurement of liquid fuels.
You heard Finance Minister Dr. Kaisel Ataforsen.
Let's speak to Duncan Amwa. He's Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC. Mr. Amwa, Ghanaians, and indeed everybody around the world, don't like taxes generally. And we've also argued in the past that taxing a liter of fuel is a lazy approach to taxation. This has been announced by the government now that we should expect taxes on the fuel we buy. He believes that we are being cushioned by the gains made in some parts of the economy, but still, the fact is the fact that they're taxing fuel. What's your comment as someone who represents consumer interests?
Sandra, good evening. Good evening to your listeners. I would have wished the government wouldn't be in a hurry to undo what it has done. I say this on the back of the fact that not long ago we were in a hurry to get rid of the e-levy and some other obnoxious taxes that Ghanaians were complaining of. The same government within the stretch has worked so hard to bring your forex or the city's exchange to a dollar and other currencies significantly lowered, which today has led to fuel prices dropping to levels that Ghanaians may be able to at least get by. And so if you have a government working so hard on one hand, removing taxes, removing e-levy, doing everything to bring down fuel prices and the cost of goods and services, the same government does a U-turn within a short space of time to say that we took out taxes, we need more taxes. It becomes a very bitter pill for anybody to swallow, and I think that I would request my older brother, the Honorable Kaisel Ataforsen, to reconsider the challenge with hardened taxes on petroleum and the one city that he is actually talking of is that once you put them on there, and that has been demonstrated with the previous ESLA that was introduced, the sunset clauses don't even work. You recall the main ESLA that was sent to Parliament in 2015 and then came into effect January 2016. We were told was going to be there for some 5 years to be able to offset the energy sector debt. Unfortunately, the 5 years have come and gone. We've contributed billions. The more we contribute to, bringing down these debts, the more the mismanagement of the sector continues. And then the more we end up with even bigger debts. And so for me, whatever we need to do to stop the bleeding of the sector, I talk of the power sector, I think that should be our key focus at this point. You cannot continue to pour water in a leaking basket, or you cannot pretend to want to fill up a basket with, water or any liquid substance. It will simply drain away. And so maybe we need to resolve the issues crippling the power sector. But to say that flatly, we should go and collect new taxes on petroleum products at this point, when the same government seems to have done everything right, I think it will be shooting itself in the foot, and it will be adding on unnecessary pressures that it is working on the other hand also to bring down. So clearly, some further thinking would need to go into this. I do not think that they would have the luxury of thinking that fuel is now 12 cities. If we add one city, it won't be any problem. The truth of the matter is that it's still going to be volatile any day. If the cedi loses value, fuel could go up any day. So imagine if the cedi should go back to 13, 14, and even 15, and already we have come to add taxes. Imagine what we'll be asking of from Ghanaians. We'll be creating unnecessary pressures for ourselves. And I think that they need to think about this. The previous government, if you recall, also came with some of these policies. Eventually, our pressures were able to get them to get their hands off. You recall that thing about your vehicle having a certain engine size and you need to pay a certain amount to be able to keep the vehicle on the road. It was clearly not well thought through. When the public pressure began, they simply had to recall.
The luxury taxis car
levy. Exactly, Sander. The luxury vehicle levy. There are things that governments often would say, okay, if you are doing 460 million liters today, it is quite simple to say that if you put 1 Ghana cedi on there every single month, government is going to be able to rake in 460 million Ghana cedis, and will apply these monies to pay for liquid fuel and pay for the debt that we have created. Sander, the big question Ghanaians are asking, how come we cannot stop accumulating these debts? How come you hear of all the bad things, bad management practices within the power sector? Nobody gets charged. Nobody gets to be asked to account for. Ministers come, ministers go, governments come, governments go, CEOs come, CEOs go. When they create the mess, then they come to Sander, they come to Duncan, they come to the trotro driver, the taxi driver, to say that go and pay for that. I think that the earlier we put a stop to the bleeding of that sector, the better. I am surprised to hear that whatever we pay for power, the liquid fuel cost is not part of it. So is it just the hydro? What are we paying for, really? I think that some answers would need to be provided to Ghanaians, but my initial remarks really will be that the government should go think through this properly, because it could create a whole wave of mess for the economy itself. You cannot have a situation you're asking your trotro taxi drivers to reduce transport fares. Even with that, to get them to comply is become an issue. And then the government turns around to say, let's go and increase, fuel costs. And, on one hand, because we have a problem somewhere, if we need to find money somewhere, if we need to get some consolidated funds money, if we need to stop the bleeding of the power sector, if we need to deregulate like we have done with the petroleum downstream sector, which is not creating any additional legacy debt, not even 1% is created from petroleum. Now the problem now is power. If we need to deal with the power situation, maybe we should call a roundtable, as Ghanaians, to contribute their thinking. Those who also have created the mess. Look, Sander, there are things that if we expose on your network now, you will be wondering why some people are still walking freely around in this country. The mess is created. Then Sander sits somewhere. He is told to come and contribute to pay for the mess. When the people, the corporates, those engaged sometimes in procuring stationery, sometimes stationery is procured for 40 years. Somebody sits in an office and procures stationery for 40. How old are you even going to be at that time? Where would you be? So we mess up the money, we throw the money away, and then we come back to ask the people to find money from their noses to pay for whatever debt that we accumulate. I think the government would need to consult on this one.
Let's leave it here for now. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Duncan Amoah is Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. Now, today, 10 years ago, disaster struck in the national capital, Accra. I recall the smell of fuel and blood from the Kwame Nkrumah circle, where that twin disaster of flood and fire occurred. 10 years on, there was a commemorative ceremony today to mark the event at the Guel fuel station near the Kwame Nkrumah Circle interchange, where the event occurred. Leader of the group that did that commemoration is Senyo Hosi. He is leader of the movement, One Ghana movement. Let's listen to the things he's been saying in relation to the event that happened.
If we don't fight today to make sure justice is served, to make sure that people are treated right, when it's our turn, none of that will happen. What's happened and transpired is a major blot in the history of our country. These people suffered. They suffered badly. They got burnt. They lost loved ones through no fault of theirs. And those responsible to date have not been held to account. And nobody has submitted officially the report, even though we have seen it. A white paper is yet to be issued. We cannot do this 10 years on. We can't live life today as if yesterday never was. It is not a responsible way to run a country.
So that's Senor Hosi. He's leader of the One Ghana movement. 150 people died that night, and over 100 were left injured. Now, the One Ghana movement also began a legal action to bring some finality to the victims. Samson Ladia Yenini is a lawyer and a member of One Ghana movement. He's been speaking about the processes in court which were began in 2018. Listen to him.
They are in court, there's 69 of them seeking help for themselves and for the over 100 others. Are in court seeking a total of about 42 million Ghana cedis. Well, because of inflation, the value will not be the same today. That is granted if they got even that money. But the government can make an intervention that can bring, some solace, and that can bring some more meaningful help to them.
So that's Samson Ladia Yenini. He's a lawyer, member of One Ghana movement. Interestingly, President Mahama was the president when this happened in 2015, and 10 years on, he's the president of the Republic. Tonight at 7 p.m. on Channel 1 television, we have a special documentary remembering the events of June 3rd, 2015, the June 3rd disaster as it is known, the 10th anniversary. So we have that documentary, especially packaged documentary by Kweku David of Channel 1 TV, which will be airing at 7 p.m. tonight. We'll bring you all the voices, the pictures, to remind you of the events leading up to the tragedy that night and the subsequent response from the various duty bearers. So we'll be hearing from David Kweku Sechi Saforo of Channel 1 TV with the June 3rd disaster documentary on Channel 1 TV tonight. Do make a date to join us as we premiere that documentary.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Fun fact, did you know that most frogs can leap more than 20 times their body length? Yup, magical. Now just imagine your business with that kind of reach. Take that leap with Frog. Frog is a bulk SMS, voice messaging, and IVR from Wiggle. User-friendly, fast, and reliable. Get more features on one platform for all your bulk messaging needs. Whether you're a church, financial institution, school, corporate organization, or individual, if you need to reach people with your services, do it with Frog. Contact 0553 019 529 or 0552 809 558. Speak to us at www.wiggle.com.gh. Frog, a leap into greatness.
Are you feeling tired after a hard day's work? Have you lost your appetite even for your favorite dish? Viral Blood Tonic is a nutritionally balanced, pleasant-tasting tonic fortified with iron and vitamins to boost your appetite and energy levels for high performance. Viral Blood Tonic, easy to take and good for the family. Viral from Danex Iting Starwin PLC. If symptoms persist after 48 hours, consult a physician. This advert is FDA approved.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. Citi Business News. Be informed.
Time now for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Inosafu. Let's settle for the details. Ghana's real household spending is projected to rise by 2.5% year-on-year to 129.7 billion in 2025. This is according to Fitch Solutions. This marks a notable recovery from the modest 1.1% growth recorded in 2024. There's more in the following Business Desk report.
The forecast places household consumption 25.4% higher than the pre-pandemic level of 103.4 billion Ghana cedis in 2019, signaling a return to more robust consumer activity. Fitch attributes the anticipated growth to easing inflation and improved stability of the Ghanaian cedi in 2025. These conditions, the firm noted, could allow the Bank of Ghana to maintain a more accommodative monetary policy stance. The outlook also aligns with Fitch Country Risk Team, which expects Ghana's real GDP to expand by 4.2% in 2025. For Ghanaian households, Fitch highlights several positive factors likely to support consumption. In particular, a deceleration in inflation is expected to boost purchasing power, encourage higher transaction volumes, and ease debt servicing burdens, creating a more favorable environment for both consumers and retailers. The improved household spending outlook is seen as a key contributor to Ghana's broader economic recovery.
That was a Business Desk report filed by Emmanuel Opon. Government has pledged to streamline export procedures in a bid to enhance competitiveness and support growth in Ghana's export sector. President John Mahama gave the assurance during a meeting with a delegation from the Federation of Associations of Guinean Exporters. The president noted that simplifying and improving export processes is crucial for removing bottlenecks that hinder the smooth flow of goods, particularly for small and medium-scale exporters.
We bring from outside, let's produce them here. And at the same time, let's produce more products that people demand outside so that we have a better balance in terms of our economic growth. And so, like I said, it's an advantage for us and we must take the opportunity. So I was happy when our speaker spoke about how you intend to take advantage of the improved economic environment. We must improve our export processes so that it makes it easier for you to be able to move your export products out. And so we'll be working closely with you to find out what the obstacles and hindrances are. And we'll work together with you to make sure that we smoothen it so that you can have a clear path to be able to export your products and be able to make Ghana's economics stronger.
President of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama there. The Bank of Ghana is preparing to roll out a stringent set of directives targeting opaque bank charges, unsafe digital lending practices, and governance lapses within the banking sector. This is part of new measures to protect customers and strengthen regulatory oversight. Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Asiama, disclosed this at the opening session of a post-monetary policy committee meeting with heads of banks, where he announced that authorities are finalizing a comprehensive policy package that will set clear benchmarks on pricing disclosures across licensed banks.
We've noted a growing trend in the application of optional issuer fees, or what is called OIFs, when it comes to cross-currency card transactions. In principle, we recognize that these fees may reflect real costs. However, opaque pricing and limited disclosure have already begun to erode consumer trust and the integrity of payment systems. To this end, the Bank of Ghana will soon issue a directive, and the directive seeks to do a number of things. It seeks to address gaps optional user fees when it comes to cross-currency card transactions, and we seek to cap these at 2%. Secondly, we will require the mandatory disclosure of all applicable OIFs to customers before a transaction is completed.
The governor has also asked banks to review current bank charges to protect customers.
The guidelines will set rules around, for example, licensing and authorization, but also disclosure and interest rate transparency, issues about data protection and customer privacy, and finally, ethical recovery and collection practices. Our goal in this is twofold. We want to protect borrowers, especially the most vulnerable, from exploitation. And secondly, we want to enable responsible, well-regulated digital lenders, including banks and their fintech partners, lenders, to be able to thrive. If your institution, colleagues, is active in digital lending, whether directly or through third parties, colleagues, now is the time to review your models and prepare for compliance.
You heard Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Asiama. Government is set to make the production of locally manufactured pozzolana cement commercially viable as part of efforts to reduce the country's heavy reliance on imported building materials. Speaking at the opening of the biannual Ministry of Science and Technology Forum in Accra, Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed stated that the government will partner with research institutions to encourage the widespread adoption of pozzolana cement by developers. Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed also stressed the importance of pozzolana cement, including its environmentally friendly attributes.
I don't think that many developers in this country use pozzolana cement any longer. It needs to have a government will to push it, because it's a cement that is conducive to our environment. There could not be any better cement we use for our infrastructure and other works than pozzolana. This is what we intend to do as Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. Of course, with partnership with industries, institutions, research institutions and academia, so that we can make you commercially and financially viable. A lot of the institutions have the ideas, but they don't have the resources to work the ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, it is important that we all come together as a state and to ensure that we have the linkages.
Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed is the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. Finance Director at Absa Bank Ghana, Kush Mkushi, is encouraging individuals to adopt a consistent saving habit as a way to build financial stability and prepare for unexpected life events. He noted that even setting aside small amounts regularly can go a long way in helping people avoid unnecessary debt and better manage emergencies. He made the call on week 1 of the Citi Business Festival 2025 on-air series on the topic financial planning.
Make the savings as soon as you can in the month, and make them on a regular basis. It needs to become habitual. So if you're a salaried worker, as soon as your salary lands, whatever it is, 10%, 15%, 5%, 2%, 1%, whatever it is that you decide is appropriate, move that and set it aside. And then work out your life from what's remaining, right? Then if you're a small business, then maybe make it, because your income fluctuates a bit, same principle, but make it a regular thing. And when you set up this savings account, make it a little bit, difficult to take the money out, so that you have to think before you do that. And the reason I'm saying that is you may have a genuine need for the savings, but in terms of discipline, just give yourself the opportunity to really think about, is this the best use of this money at the time? Because what builds capital over time is compound interest, but it needs time to work.
He also noted that Absa Bank provides a range of financial planning tools that support services to help customers strengthen their financial well-being.
In terms of, how Absa helps, there's a number of products, the standard savings products, the standard investment products, but I think there's one I would call out, which is our Target Save. And this speaks directly to financial planning. So you're targeting, let's say you want to target a new fridge in 2 years' time. You can see that the old one is getting a bit tired, it needs replacement. Then, you can sit down with us and work out what it is you need to save to hit that target. That means you can now, you know exactly what you need to put aside, you can be disciplined about that, and you know that you're working towards something tangible for you and your family.
Kushum Kushi is Finance Director at Absa Bank Ghana. The Citi Business Festival 2025 is powered by 97.3 Citi FM and Channel 1 TV with sponsorship from Absa Bank, MTN Ghana and Zonda Tech Ghana Limited. That's all for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Inu Safo. Up next is Point Blank.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Hey, of course. You know we have been friends since childhood, and we always tell each other everything.
Oh, Cynthia, I know that. And that is why you are my best friend.
We even eat together, and I have spare keys to your room. I also know your phone password.
Cynthia, don't I also know your phone password?
Yes, so But what about your Momo pin?
No way.
Indeed, Akos. Your Momo pin is your secret. Do not share your pin for any reason or give your pin to someone to send cash on your behalf. Davida, never give out your pin or OTP as a means of claiming a so-called promotional prize one. Your pin is like your toothbrush. It only belongs to you. Stay alert.
MTN.
Are you ready to lead like never before?
Ready to master the art of strategy and inspire teams that thrive?
It's the Management Bootcamp 2025.
An exclusive high-impact training for mid to senior pros.
Learn from Ghana's finest industry minds, brought to you by Channel 1 TV and 97.3 Citi FM.
From the trusted voices of excellence, Citi FM and Channel 1 TV comes an elite training experience designed to sharpen your strategy, leadership, and communication.
Make a date for the Management Bootcamp 2025 from Sunday the 22nd of June to Saturday the 28th of June 2025. The venue is the Platinum Bay and Passion Base Hotels.
Call 0242-011-424 to register now.
The Management Bootcamp 2025. Lead forward. The Management Bootcamp 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from 97.3 Citi FM.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
This is Point Blank on Eyewitness News. I am Umaru Sandamadu. Tonight on Point Blank, we are having a discussion with a first-time member of Parliament representing the people of Esuatifi North, the Honorable Ebenezer Kwekuado, NDC MP for Esuatifi North, member of the Youth and Sports Committee, and also the Petitions Committee of Parliament. And I must say, he looks very youthful. You're welcome to Point Blank, Honorable.
Thank you, my brother.
Do you look youthful or you're actually youthful?
I'm youthful. I'm young.
No, because I'm seeing grey in your beard, but...
It's a family property.
I mean, your family is very wise. But you also look very young. I mean, are you the youngest in Parliament?
Well...
Do you people have that record yet? Have you checked who the youngest is?
I'm sure I'm older than someone.
But you look very cute and young. And for those who are watching, and you are wearing a ring, I was going to ask if you are married so that I'll start advertising for you. How are you doing?
I'm fine, sir.
Esuatifi North, that's which areas in your which are the major towns in your constituency?
The major towns are Kenyase, number 1, number 2, and Totroso. Then we have the Gambia.
Okay.
Gambia, number 1, number 2.
I came to your place, Kenyase number 1 and 2, and in Totroso to do a documentary on. This was 11 years ago, 2014. It was new. That's where Newmont has its mines, right? That's where the Ahafo mines are.
Yeah.
I think it was a GIZ project. Yeah, many years ago, over 10 years ago, and so that's when I got to see that area. A very, very nice community. That's
then I was contesting for assembly member.
Wow, in 2014.
And in fact, I won.
So you started off as an assembly member
and a presiding member.
Was assembly member the first election you went for, or you did party, maybe branch executive, that kind of thing?
No, assembly member was the first.
You started
election.
Assembly member,
yes.
For which electoral area?
Jedu.
Jedu.
Yeah.
It's possible I interviewed you because I remember interviewing the assembly member. I don't remember
Really?
which assembly member it was. So you moved from there to be presiding member. So you got elected as presiding member.
Yes.
For how long?
A year.
Okay, no, for 1 term you mean?
Yeah, 1 term. No, it's not 1 term. You know, per the Local Governance Act, when one's term is not elapsed and the appointment is revoked, you continue for the remaining tenure.
You were removed as presiding member?
Yes, I was removed. I served as a continuation of the revoked member. You know, in 2016, when NDC lost all the government appointees, the appointment were revoked.
Okay.
And unfortunately, our presiding member was a government appointee. So there was a need for someone to continue the tenure before presiding membership is 2 years.
Yes.
And you are subject to re-election for another 2 years. So I did the last part of the 2 years of the person who
before the main election.
Yes, before the main election.
So from presiding member, you went where?
I became the parliamentary candidate in 2019, lost 2020 elections, and came back in 2024.
Citi North is who? So who did you defeat in 2024?
Patrick Bano.
Was he the same person who defeated in 2020?
In 2020, yeah.
Where did the magic come from for you in 2024?
Well, I'm a grassroots person. I don't relent. I don't relax. What I used to do before the 2020 elections, I continued doing it, and even better. So the youth especially are conversant with me. They know me from the assembly membership level. I'm a down-to-earth person. I tell the truth, and I think that is what the Citi people needed.
How huge was the margin, if it was huge at all?
4,377, and in fact that is the best margin so far, because for the 24 years of stay for MPP on the parliamentary seat, the highest margin was, I think, 2,085 or 2,875.
Did you say 24? So it means
since 2000.
So the place has always been blue?
Sure, since 2000. You know, in 1992, no one contested because MPP didn't contest the parliamentary election. So in 1996, NDC won, but we lost in 2000. And since then, the seat has been for MPP. I came to break the jinx.
Wow. And you hope that you can retain it?
Sure, I'm praying that I am.
Because there's a view that the victory in 2024 was a wind of change that all of you MPs benefited from. So it was not necessarily. That's why, for instance, your whole region, apart from Gideon Bako, there's no MPP member of parliament.
Sure.
And the other two Brong and Ahafo regions also a similar situation there. So could it be that you just won by chance, and that when the people and the MPP claims that their people didn't come out, if their people eventually come out to vote, you lose as it?
No, in fact, we campaigned on issues and how we have started as a party and how I have also begun my activities in my constituency. Those issues we campaigned on are all being fixed by the NDC government and President John Mahama. And I'm sure we have evidence going forward, and going into 2028, we have the evidence-based campaign to carry out. So I'm sure they are going to retain evidence.
5 months in Parliament, how has it been for you? Shocked, impressed, overwhelmed, underwhelmed?
Well, I would say it's a mixed feeling. It's a learning procedure. I think I am in the learning stage, and I'm happy for my godfathers who advised me to learn, because initially I wanted to lobby for ministerial position and all those stuff, but I was advised to learn by my godfather, Alhaji Collins Dauda.
Oh, so from SOTV South.
Yeah, so I'm learning.
So you are MP to your neighbor. Okay, your godfather is your neighbor MP or your neighboring MP.
Yes.
Interesting. That's a very close one. I see. And I've heard stories that Alhaji Collins Dauda, when he goes to the constituency, he's down to earth. He gives people lift and things. Have you learned that one?
So like I said, he's my godfather, and that is exactly what we are also doing. We are emulating his steps.
But you've been given 2 committees in Parliament.
Yeah.
Committee on Petitions. What is that?
Well, Committee on Petitions, I would say it's an establishment of the parliamentary standing orders, but it is a first committee that is being formed.
It's new.
It's a new committee. You know, usually when members of the public institutions, statutory bodies and authorities have issues to raise, they normally petition Parliament, and Speaker in his own wisdom thought it wise to establish or form a committee that will look into all the petitions that comes to the House. And I think in reviewing the parliamentary standing orders, they made it a part of the standing committees. In fact, it's a standing committee. And so I think it is an opportunity to also, once it is a new
So the committee is new, you are new.
Yes.
Who is chairing it? Is the person experienced?
He's a minority MP.
Oh, okay.
And he's an experienced person. In fact, I don't recall the name, but it seems I do. One of the MPs, in fact, since we are not
for not knowing your chairman's name, you would
no. You see,
you would have to kneel down.
We had to. Yes, you are right. But we had to meet during the recess, and we haven't met.
My question though, and you are totally forgiven because you've just come to the House. You guys are 275.
Sure.
So I mean, I'm not sure I expect you to know
the names
everybody
of everybody.
Okay, but do you get in the House between maybe chamber to job 600 and back? Do you get people thinking that you are not an MP maybe because of your size? They say, hey, that kind of thing. Do you get that?
No, nobody. Because of
the tag.
The
so
tag.
It's easy to see that you are a member of Parliament. Yeah. Okay, you are. So petitions committee is new. You have not even met yet as a committee.
No, we haven't met.
Fine. Let's move on.
The first time of meeting was engaging with the Speaker of Parliament for us to plan the way forward, because this is a committee he is interested in. So
then let's talk about the one that everybody will know about, the Youth and Sports Committee. Yeah. You're a member of that one too?
Yeah, I'm a member of that.
So you are supposed to play what? Oversight on what?
Yeah, we play oversight responsibility on the Youth and Sports Ministry, the Ministry for Youth Development, National Service Secretariat, Scholarship Secretariat, YEA, NAPE.
That's a lot. Are you a sports person?
I'm not a sports person, but I'm interested in sporting activities.
Okay. Let's talk about mining communities. You are from a mining area. Galamsey is a big issue. We have Newmont in your area. That's a big mining company. Of course, not engaging in Galamsey. But that should be the standard for mining. Do you have challenges of illegal miners using the mines of Newmont? What is the story around illegal mining in your community?
Well, the story in my constituency on mining, normally I don't want to use the term Galamsey, and I draw a line between the large scale mining and the small scale mining, and the line I draw is documentation. Newmont has documents backing its operation, and they are using a standard, well-regulated systems in extracting the gold. They are being checked by the various authorities. And so, in my view, Newmont cannot employ every youth. And my experience being in a mining community, when there is mines in a constituency, certain activities naturally crops up. Higher prices of goods and services.
So high cost of living.
Yeah, high cost of living, and complaint from the youth of not getting employed. And once they know that there is something beneath the earth which will fetch them money, they'll go all out to also fetch for it. So I think it's a challenge when the youth get into an exchange altercations with maybe the security agencies who are mandatory policing the mines. And so in a way to bridge these two activities, that is the legal and illegal, I suggested during one of the conferences organized by the Lands Minister at Kempinski that they have different ways of doing the illegal mining. Some, they are in forest areas, destroy water bodies. I am against that. But if you come to my constituency, they take the pain, dig down to the earth like wells. They dig like a well, and they go down there to break the ore, bring it out, go somewhere, mill it, and then extract the gold from it. And so it is a challenge when the youth crash with the security forces. But it is not a challenge, or it will not be a challenge when we try to engage them and recognize them by giving them some smaller portion to operate.
So you're advocating that they should be given concessions?
Yeah, I'm advocating that they should be given concessions, because
by who should give them? Is it the Newmont concession that they should be given a part of, or
it should be an engagement between government and Newmont, because Newmont has legally acquired these concessions.
So the whole mining area in that enclave is owned by Newmont.
Yes.
So Newmont has to then cede off some of it to the youth.
Yes, because not all the areas that has been captured by Newmont will be mined. I have the notion that they will mine up to, I think, 2080 or something, but not all the areas are going to be mined.
So give some to the young people,
at least for them to.
But do they have proper tools to do the mining like Newmont is doing?
No,
that's
so
the sad part.
Yeah, so you see, once they are given or they are ceded a portion, then the government will have to issue them a small scale license for the regulatory agencies to come in. And now that we have the gold board, I think the tooling and retooling aspect, the government can look at that, and then
you do not think we would have issues of pits collapsing on miners like we hear in other areas?
No, and that is what I'm saying. Once the government comes in and a recognized portion of the land is given to them, I think they cannot mine on a large scale like Newmont, but at least at their level, they can get some of these machines to also work with.
When I came to your place over 10 years ago, some of the issues that came up, I remember tailings, how the tailings is managed, you know, the water from the mine. I remember things about, they say rocks will fly into their homes. People have to, their farms and all of those things. Have all these issues been addressed?
No, that is when it is not the tailings, but the blasting.
No, so the blasting lets the rocks come into their house. It's different from the tailings issue.
The tailings is just the end product of extracting the minerals.
Yes, I mean, so the management of that. When Newmont had a huge dam that it was using to collect the tailings and had a way of processing it. There were issues that were raised around that. I'm asking if that have been sorted. There's no problem with the tailings.
Well, with the tailings dam, Newmont is an international company. I think those issues that were raised was in 2010.
Yes,
it was in 2010.
So I'm saying that has been
resolved.
And the issue of the rocks entering people's homes, that also been addressed?
No, now they are doing the underground mining, and
there's nothing like that.
No, there's nothing like that.
Very well. Is farming able to continue alongside mining? Because that's also another issue that, we've given all our lands out for mining. People who want to engage in crop farming, are they able to do their work?
Yeah, in some part of the constituency, farming is their major activity. But those areas closer to the mines, they prefer mining to farming. But we have a vast land which farming activities are ongoing now.
So the issue of illegal mining is not necessarily happening in your constituency, you think?
It is happening, but on a scale compared to other constituencies or other mining areas. In fact, I've passed through Bebiani to Takwa, and if you see those communities just by the side of the road,
you don't have that in your area.
No. Sometimes even you cannot figure out if there's an illegal mining activity over there. You can see there are cocoa trees over there, but people will be there mining without cutting the cocoa trees.
Very well. Honorable, we will look forward to seeing your work in the House of Parliament. We would engage a lot more times, and we wish you all the best. We will talk again and again and talk about your constituency. Wish you all the best.
I wish I will also make myself available. In fact, now parliamentary sitting has changed. It's now from 2 to 7.
Oh,
and so I have to go back to Parliament.
Wow.
That is why.
I'm sorry for you.
Don't worry.
It's okay.
Okay.
But we are happy for you and wish you all the best. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you, boss.
So that's Honorable Ebenezer Kwekwado, Member of Parliament for Esotifi North, joining us for Point Blank. That's by way of Eyewitness News tonight. I am Umaru Sandamado. I did this with Enosa for production by Beverly London, Sami Wiafi, Hansen Ajiman, Julian Odami Asari, and Manuel Ayama. Technical support from Emmanuel Latte. Emmanuel also helped us with the new media side. We'll be back tomorrow at 17:30 GMT. But do tune in to Channel 1 TV now. We have a documentary on the June 3rd disaster airing right about now.
City News. We speak first. Reach our hotline on 0302 224959 and get interactive on